Doing something for the first time is wild. And when you think of the outdoors, it's inherently wild. I think the most important thing for me is sharing an activity, sharing what I love with people that have not experienced that or have some kind of barrier related to it. The magic of being able to create that bond, that connection with an activity, a person, a place, that's special. All right, well, we're ready to roll, huh?
Season 3, take 2.
Welcome in to another one episode of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. We are kicking off season 3. It's your boy Marcus here on a beautiful Pittsburgh weekend day, I guess. Be a little vague, but to no surprise, we are back at the one and only field day on the rooftop. This is our third or fourth go round on the rooftop. So this is like home base for us.
Yeah, I think it's the 4th. I think we had a couple of you and I, and then a couple of guests here as well throughout various parts of the day. So it feels good to be back here. Again, early for us in the morning at this point in time. I think it's the first time that we've shot in the morning. Most have been in the midday or afternoon, but it feels good to be back.
Yeah. This is the first time that we've completed a podcast here that the F&B Tower is in the skyline.
Yep.
That's the newest addition for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Newest addition, I think you can see it. It's kind of like probably over your left shoulder, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, kind of just growing the city. It's exciting that that's like an addition to the skyline throughout that. So yeah, much like all things continue to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to the homies in the lower hill, huh? For sure.
For sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, so, man, it's so great to be in this space again, connecting over podcast stuff, outdoor stuff, stories, so much to share. But to no surprise, we're still going to enter into the same space with the same questions.
Yep.
What are you listening to or reading? The $1 million question that everyone wants to know.
Yeah. Well, it's been a bit since we recorded. I mean, the last session that we had, we were talking about For All the Dogs, so that's like
October.
Yeah, somewhere around there, almost like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
But throughout that time, a lot of projects have came out. For music, I think we should stick with like the most recent ones.
Yeah.
Of note. Otherwise, we can just turn the entire podcast into discussion about the last 8 months of projects there. But for the last bit of time, kind of like in this season, in this timestamp, I've been listening like really eclectically to a lot of things, everything from, like R&B to like trap that makes me feel really dangerous and everything in between. Throughout, of course, Lucky Day, the most recent album of note for that. Really think that's a great album to follow. Also, on the other end of that spectrum, the Lucky album as well, also a good album. A lot of really good, of course, the Kendrick and Drake beef brought us a lot of good music as well throughout this time.
You mean a little bit of good music?
Well, one-sided good music, but 4 tracks nonetheless.
Want to make sure we were clear.
And then just randomly and kind of like eclectically throughout, like the Tim's album I think was really great. I've been the Camila Cabello album, just kind of like randomly, there's been good spots for me that I think that I've been listening to over the last bit of time. I know where you're gonna go, so I'm gonna like withhold sharing additional albums that I've been listening to, but all that you have, I've been also consuming.
Are you crowning an album of the year already with what? Halfway through quarter 2? Oh, over halfway through quarter 2. Into quarter 3.
Like it's gonna sound very recent, like with recency bias, but I do think the Don Toliver album is the album of the year thus far.
I can't argue with that.
To this point in time, there's been really great projects and albums throughout. Of course, the Future and Metro albums were strong and solid, both of them. So it's been a good year for like hip hop, R&B music to follow. So,
I mean, we still don't trust you.
Well, I mean, that's what started it all. I mean, that
Yeah.
kind of like fueled the industry to kind of kick it into another gear over that time period. And then since then, there's been a lot of really strong albums. There's also been some albums that were disappointing. As a Yeet fan, I'm
Yeah.
disappointed in 2093. I think there was some strong singles on there, but in totality, I was a little disappointed by that album. But yeah, what have you been listening to over the last bit of time?
Yeah. So many different things. For sure, the Don Toliver album, miles and miles ahead of everyone that's kind of producing and creative in this space, which is exciting. Anderson .Paak,
Mm-hmm.
the No Worries album,
Yep.
incredible. Probably my favorite album that I've listened to thus far.
Favorite including Don Toliver.
Including, yeah. I think it's just, well,
It's a good
I like
album.
I like Anderson for a lot of different reasons, but I think creatively he can play all the instruments that he puts on
Yeah.
on an album, which is kind of taking things to another level, and it's just really relaxing, exciting, fun music. And the features were great. Thundercat was on
Agreed.
there, yeah. A lot of good music there. What else have I been listening to? I would say everything that you referenced, for sure the Metro albums. I've had a lot of fun with those. Gained a lot of new ad-libs, specifically from everything that Kendrick Lamar was able to
Oh,
deliver.
yeah, for sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah, too much fun on that. And then just been listening to a lot of things that I naturally enjoy, you know? Spending a lot of Maja Jordan right now,
Mhm.
like kind of as we sit here, which is always a relaxing, kind of fun album.
Yep.
A lot of house music, a lot of mixes, which are fun. And yeah, I would say that's kind of what I've been vibing out to, relaxing to. I would say I've heard that a lot of great music has come out in 2024, which I can say yes, but I wouldn't say there's any, you know, triple platinum album that's come out aside from maybe Anderson, at least in my mind. Yeah. There's no like to Pimp a Butterfly that's dropped yet. There's no Damn that's dropped yet.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah.
like If You're Eating This Is Too Late that's dropped yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But I think Kendrick's on the way, so that could change.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe.
the snippets had me going a little crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, there have been a lot of mainstream artists that released in the year in which usually we're like waiting for a long time for albums
For sure.
to follow. So I think it was just like the culmination of a lot. You know, like Cole dropped during this time, Kate Tronado dropped during this time.
Yeah, which was also a great album.
Gunna dropped during this time.
Also another great album.
All of the people that we've already highlighted and mentioned as well. So it was just kind of like the genre was just on a roll for a bit, in which there were just mainstream artists dropping time after time after time after time, and then you know Vultures as well during that time.
Yeah.
So just from like the genre's body of work over the bit of the last 8-ish months, we rarely get that.
Yeah.
So that was huge. And then that's underlying, of course, like the Kendrick and the Drake beef as well. So
Yeah.
the genre's just been on fire, which it was a little sleepy
Yeah.
before that because we'd wait for each quarter one person would drop an album kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it's good.
Is there any drop or release that's coming up that you're getting a little excited about? I mean, aside from Kendrick, I think everyone in like the universe is like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what Kendrick releases, which that's not a slight. Like I'm just as excited too.
Yeah. For me,
But-
this should come as no surprise, but for me, I've been waiting for a year for Playboi Carti.
Yeah. That's going to be a slap.
All of those singles have been unbelievable.
And all the features.
Yeah.
He's been smashing.
He's
features.
been on a run right now. So I just can't wait for that album because his sound is different. He's continued to experiment with his sound as well, but you like when you hear it, you're just like, that's Playboi Carti.
Yeah.
So the features that he's been on, from everything with like Camila Cabello to being on Vultures to being on We Still Don't Trust You,
Yeah.
like all have been really strong performances that have like made features and made songs and that have been like high points on significant albums.
Mm-hmm.
So I just can't wait for him to release an independent
Yeah.
project for that. So
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Probably recency bias for me because I know it drops next week. Black Odyssey.
yeah,
I think it's 1-800 Fantasy is his album that comes out. I can't wait for that. He's also just one of my favorite artists creatively, which is interesting. His sound for Austin, Texas scene is kind of like super innovative. So I'm interested in hearing what his third album at this point. And his features are always interesting, from Benny the Butcher to like Maida and individuals that are just like more melodic. With that being said, Maida did come out with her, I would say like shorter compilation album, which was amazing. So I'm looking forward to a full-length project from her again this year. And those are my go-to, again, aside from Kendrick and Playboi Carti. Those are the two that I've actually just been kind of sitting back, waiting, expecting high quality music and a good vibe. So
I think everyone in the genre is kind of fired up now.
yeah,
I mean, it's
time to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, unless SZA comes out with something, and then I'm like,
well, there has been the deluxe
yeah,
that's been talked about for a while. That's just underlying that, you know.
she's the greatest.
I won't go there. I mean, I think she's an incredible artist.
Oh.
Like she's in my, and if we're talking about just like artists that I enjoy just playing music for whatever the scenario and whatever the scene or environment, if I'm sitting in my office and I'm like, what artist am I going to play? She's in the top 5 that I'm just like, I'm going to play this song or this album. It doesn't matter the scenario. It's like SZA's in that top 5 for me, just from like personal preference, and I just love the artistry and TDE and all of the like the synergies with that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could spend hours on music, but what are you reading? I know that's kind of your jam. I've got a few books that I'm always excited to share, and what I'm reading right now. But what you been running through?
Yeah, I mean, I closed out all of the kind of circling back to our time with a previous capsule. I finished out all the books from Powell's during that point in time, which are, gosh, I think I bought like 8 books during that time. I finished all of those. Right now I'm working on 4,000 Weeks, which is a different kind of spin on time management. So the average human has 4,000 weeks of life, period, which sounds like a lot. And that's just like the average, sometimes more, oftentimes less. So if you think about it in kind of like the context of your entire life, you think about ways in which you want to manage your time and how you can do so effectively and efficiently via prioritizing, you know, what's important to you and how you live out your values and your mission to align how you're allocating your time. So that's more largely the tenet of that book. I'm about halfway through, and it's been more plainly stated the ways that kind of like I schedule and book my time and how I spend it and how I show up throughout it. So I encourage people to read that book if you find yourself within a space or a time in which you feel like overworked or overconsumed or spread too thin or things of that nature. So I'd certainly encourage people to read that. I'm also reading, going 2 at one time at this moment in time, also reading Think and Grow Rich as well. So those are the 2 books that I'm taking on at this very moment. Finished all the 8 to whatever that were purchased at Powell, so spin back to that one. But what about you? What are you reading?
Yeah, 2 primary books right now. I'm reading Everest Incorporated, which is just a huge book. Well, not a huge book, but it's like a dissertation of all of the history and development of guiding on Everest, both formally and informally, which is really great. And especially since like Everest season is still open right now, at least, coming to an end in the next few weeks. I'm very interested in reading and understanding all the history that goes into the Hillary Step and everything on Everest. So I'm reading that, and also the Rick Rubin, The Creative Act book, which is great. Very short passages that you can kind of start your day opening up and kind of working through, and that's exactly how I use it. great book that kind of reshapes and reframes the act of being a creative, that everyone has the ability, the opportunity, and the connection to create. It's how we tap into it and kind of structure it to be a formal act aside from like waiting for things to come to you. So that's what I am kind of working through. It's been great. Both are phenomenal books, so couldn't
Yeah.
recommend more. So if you have the chance, check out one of the two or one of the four that
Yeah.
we share. So
Yeah. Book list coming soon, perhaps.
yeah,
With generating that list, especially throughout the 2 seasons prior, there's been a lot of really good recommendations from guests throughout, both outdoor recreation or outdoor experientially related and unrelated throughout.
Yeah.
So we'll try to compile that list in, because we hear that people want to see it throughout. So we hear you loud and clear. So we'll be sure to share that throughout.
nice. Yeah, for sure. And as we, continue to pick up the show and get it off and rolling, we did receive a recommendation to expand our scope of questioning to be more broad and kind of far-reaching in regards to industry development, industry specific things that are catching our eye. Sharing our black and brown stories are always important, but giving people another look behind the veil of like things that are intriguing to us as either formally or informally recreational participants and either employers, employees. So there's a few things that we'd love to formalize as we continue to move forward, and that would be kind of like, what's catching your eye? What have you seen in the outdoor industry space or recreational space that you would like to bring attention to? And we'll continue to standardize this as a question as we work through multiple more episodes and seasons. So anything that's catching your eye.
Yeah, I mean, for me within the running space, it's been really interesting to see how social media has continued to influence, for lack of a better term, the running community at large. I think both from an event participation standpoint all the way through the community type of capacity of running, both formally and informally. I'm not just from my algorithm on social media, but just I think more largely, there's been more engagement with running as a leisure opportunity and a recreation opportunity for people, which is really broad, I think, from the way in which I'm seeing it, bringing many more people to not just start lines, but to running groups, to the formation of running groups, to the cultivation of additional communities and access to that, which has been really exciting to see as someone somewhat still contributing to the industry, but also as a participant myself. It's been really fun to see more people showing up and running from a recreation standpoint, being more centric on social media channels. I've seen that it's caused somewhat friction, as growth has occurred with, seasoned, long-standing community members in the running community, seeing the wave of influence and engagement being inauthentic. I'm not one of those people. Regardless of what gets you outside running and how that looks for you, I'm all for it. As long as it's safe, more largely. I should put that caveat on there. But I have seen like the recognition of some people not really enjoying that for whatever the reason may be. So I think any good access and any good engagement as it relates to running is good for all throughout. So the more people we can bring to run clubs, the more people that we can bring on and more light that we can shine on social media channels, I think it's better for everyone throughout. So that's really been catching my eye as of recent. Not formal news, but if you explore on social media, you'll see things of that nature. So not trying to cast your eyes to it, but being able to recognize that it's occurring. So those are the things that have caught my eye to this point in time. But what about you?
Interesting. Yeah, I'm very intrigued by that slant and kind of framing in regards to how social media can be a uplifter and a deterrent in regards to accessibility and inclusion outdoors. So yeah, I hope everything continues to go into a positive direction. All these positive, great stories around the impact of run clubs has proliferated at a higher clip. And hopefully us as individuals can be drawn to positive stories to share those, like those, uplift those, to continue to support individuals finding their way into a welcoming space. So I would say for me, the intriguing story that I'm interested in is wrapping up the Outside Festival. So for those who don't know, Outside Fest was in Denver early May, I believe, early mid-May, centered around a consumer-based show for individuals in the outdoor industry, brands, athletes, to find a centralized space and celebrate the outdoors, be around other creatives and outdoor people, to celebrate and have a great time. And the festival, I think, was the first for Outside Fest specifically, and very intriguing. Was supposed to be more of, or at least my vibe that I felt was a South by Southwest for outdoor folks. So athletes coming in, sharing stories. There was a climbing competition sponsored by the North Face. There were, all kinds of brands that you could think of and imagine in the space, sharing and enjoying each other's presence. So I was excited and intrigued by the moment. Being there, seeing Black and brown folks there was encouraging. Hoping to see more and more year over year, just to show up, represent community, and also just find additional community members in the space, which is always fun. I networked with a few people that, honestly didn't know were out there, that I'm super happy that I was able to interact with these individuals and see them and follow them on social media and look for additional ways to collaborate and support each other. So very heartwarmed by all of that experience and opportunity. Looking forward to year 2 and beyond. Hopefully, the trade show / event industry is always in an interesting space around consumers like us. Where are we buying? Are we buying in store? Are we buying online? How does that ultimately lead to the lack of or a decreased opportunity for trade, at least in a storefront consumer-based space? So hoping that it continues to stay around, that it's a successful event, that people continue to show up and recognize that there's a community out there for all of us, and more creatives are going to continue to support that. So it was great to see a lot of our friends there, which is exciting nonetheless. Jabari and Ron from Lamert Mountaineering were there.
Yep.
All of our friends from previous episodes were there, which was exciting, and had a chance to get outside and enjoy Denver in all of its recreational glory. So that was always fun too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denver is fantastic.
Yeah.
And glad to hear that the trade show went well, and that there was a lot of good engagement, from vendors and brands to consumers and industry professionals, but also peer-to-peer as well. So that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And with that too, it's a good pivot point for us of there was formal and informal play, athletes, creatives, sponsored individuals there, which was intriguing, especially with climbing being in the Olympics. It was great to see Olympic level athletes and climbing there, which is kind of terrifying in every sense. But with that being said, Olympics are right around the corner. Literally, it's less than 30 days away. What are you excited about?
Yeah. I'm excited about everything, to be quite honest. From an event standpoint, I will watch any event, and I will consume it from start to finish. So whatever is on TV, I will watch.
Yeah.
Period. So, yeah, the ones of note, of course, basketball. We just had our exhibition against Canada.
Yep.
As a warm-up.
Yeah, well, that was a warm-up too.
The other day.
We'll let everybody know that was a warm-up.
Yeah, so Yeah, I just don't know how that team.
And we still won by
Yeah,
17.
I just don't. I don't know how the team loses. To be quite honest, if they lose any game, I will be stunned. Just how good they are. So I'm excited about that. Excited about gymnastics, track and field, obviously. Everything, quite honestly.
Swimming.
Yeah,
Katie Ledecky will dominate again.
everything. Like, I'll watch anything.
Yeah.
So excited for it all. Excited to see athletes compete at the highest level. That's for an Olympics. You are the best of the best of the best of the best, kind of thing.
In the world, not
Yeah.
just like stateside.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
to compete at that level, under that much pressure, with that much focus, with that little room for error, whether you're first or you come last in your heat, you're a winner, in respect. So I'm excited to just watch people compete at that level. It's super exciting for me. Yeah.
I don't want to flex our USA muscle, but like, what are the storylines that you're most excited about, and who or what sport do you think the U.S. is primed to kind of like, I wouldn't say dominate, but potentially like sweep the podium?
For track and field,
Yeah.
I'm super excited for Noah Lyles. For his 200, 100, the double champ, that's just unbelievable to do. So to see him do something like that would be incredible. Equally as excited for the U.S. women's team for the sprints as well, the 200, the 100 as well, the 1 mile, the 5K, the 10K, all of those are going to be competitive for that as well. Globally, it'll be competitive, so I'm excited for that. And Sid McLaughlin. I mean, there's just so many storylines within track and field. Trey Holloway. There's just so much. There's so many athletes that are going to do exceptional and incredible things and take on incredible feats that are now becoming more recognizable due to, again, just the influx of energy surrounding track and field as of recent. It's become more, I don't want to say commercial, but it's become more recognizable and consumable from people throughout, those that run and those who don't, which has really been exciting to be able to see the growth of the sport in that kind of way. And it's been through lightning rods such as an ambassador such as Noah Lyles, such as Sha'Carri Richardson, that are really showing the power and the impact of the sport throughout. So I'm just excited to see the continuing lifting of all ships within the running space there. So those are some that I'm really interested in throughout, but from start to finish, I'm watching.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited for Sha'Carri. I mean, it's not like she said, I'm not back, I'm better, but like, I'm so excited to see what she can do on the Olympic level.
Yep.
That was kind of gut-wrenching to see her taken out from the last Olympics, but I'm so excited to see how dominant she can be. And I mean, I'm hoping that she is able to reclaim every moment of glory that was lost or either relegated to the Pan Am Games or another space. Like, nationally, I think I'm excited to see what she's able to do. And Sydney McLaughlin, oh my gosh. I'm excited to see her run against herself. That's pretty much like what she's doing, which is incredible. Yeah. And everything in other sports too that are popping up. USA climbing, interested to see where that goes and how that works out. Swimming as well. From what I hear, I mean, it's just from watching, we have a good position and kind of space in the swimming world, but it'll be intriguing to see kind of what can be knocked out and what can be accomplished. If there's an opportunity to sweep the podiums there, which is intriguing. I think anytime that can be done is just an incredible feat by itself. And I'm interested in the new sports that are kind of popping up that, are coming to the Olympic stage and platform. The 3-on-3 basketball, I think is like, bro, if it's horse, I think it's like 20. It's a sweep. It's a skunk. It's 21-0. for
We'll
us.
see. We'll see.
I'm very confident
Yeah.
in men and women's. I'm
Yeah.
very confident. Like I think we can talk like that.
Okay.
For
That's big talk.
For 3-on-3
That's big
basketball. I mean, we can talk like that for whatever you want. 5-on-5, 5-on-3. We got it like that.
Yeah.
So
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I love our basketball teams, period.
Yeah.
So I'm just like really excited to see that. What else you got though? What else are you excited for?
yeah. I mean, I'm also excited to see the individuals that are like able to hop in and cover a lot of the Olympic stories. From what I understand, like Alex Arnold will be covering a subsection of the climbing with commentary, which is always going to be intriguing. I like the way he like processes information and disseminates it out at like the most base level comprehension and understanding to welcome more and more people into the climbing space. So I'm excited to see potentially the snowball effect, like how he gets the ball rolling with his notoriety of like the film, books, expeditions, brings it to an Olympic level stage, and people will recognize him and say, oh, cool, I'm going to stick around and watch this 4 hours of the Olympic segment, and maybe I'll go into a gym and climb.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be an interesting moment for every sport, every activity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how it works out even for the running space. Like, no one's going to run a 51 flat like Sydney McLaughlin on the 400 hurdles, but maybe her representation is going to get you out of, your front door and onto a track or running in the community.
Yep.
I'm very intrigued to see how that works out. And I think with the level of representation, just ethnically and, identity based in a lot of the Olympic spaces, I'm encouraged by the USA team and seeing where that goes. So I think that's a really intriguing storyline. And seeing potentially 4 years from now when it's in US soil in LA, like how people show up and potentially if there's a new sport that's added, like what that does for the popularity of new recreational activities. So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, to see some of the women on the front line for women's sports has just been incredible.
yeah,
Of course, Allyson Felix isn't competing this year in the Olympics, but she's still just like a titan in that space.
yeah,
For that, Sha'Carri, of course, we've mentioned Sid. Just the athletes that are really doing above and beyond and going above and beyond for equity within that sport. I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
Throughout that, so that kind of like is right in line with WNBA and the work in which is occurring right now to lift the W, which has been really fun to see as well, and long overdue, frankly for that as well. So yeah, a lot of good to follow, but conversely, the men's soccer team not doing great. So that's kind of like the other end of the spectrum there, and also going through a lot of turmoil right now with the firing of the coach, seeking new coach, things of player development, which has just been long overdue. For that, it's been we've been behind on a trend with the men's soccer team for a bit of time now. It's just shown up now throughout. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of really great storylines for the Olympics to follow. So we'll be able to recap in an appropriate time for that. But really excited for all that's to come. And then also the unknown athletes that we're going to become much more familiar with and that are going to become household names to follow as well, which is going to be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And as we kind of wrap up the Olympic preview and coverage that we've seen with the trials, like it's always intriguing and really important for us to kind of close out with saying that what you referenced earlier, these individuals that are going to the Olympics and performing on the stage in Paris, they're one of ones. And it's a tough battle of like milliseconds to be on the podium most of the time. There's rare instances, again, like Sydney McLaughlin's one, like it's not close, but compared to us mortal humans that are in communities, they're 5 million times better within the domain that they're chasing excellence in. And I think Simone Biles is a great example. Is like, I'm so excited to see her redemption story, and not a moment of like she fell short, but from her perspective, she was going through a lot of mental battles and trauma and discomfort. And I'm excited to know that she feels that she's in a better space now and very comforted. And I could only imagine the amount of pressure that she was on in the stage, on the mat,
Oh yeah.
4 years ago, and knowing that she feels in a moment of comfort in that competition yet to come in Paris, and how she's kind of displayed herself and represented authentic like mental health concerns and discomfort, and has attacked that with the same vigor that she does on the mat. I'm really encouraged by that, and I say all that to say, even if you don't come home with the gold or silver, bronze, you're still, a champion. These are one-of-one individuals, and as a consumer and a spectator, it's my duty to understand that, but also respect the fact that someone's going out there and putting everything, literally their entire life on the line to represent the U.S. And that's, even if they don't come home with the gold, that's not something that we should frown upon. So I hope that we can all take that in over the next 60 days, knowing that we've got about 20 leading up to the Olympics and then 3 weeks of the Olympics, that as individuals come back home from Paris, that we're welcoming them back with just the same amount of vigor as if they won the gold, even if they didn't. These are individuals that should command respect, just like everyone else. So you see them on TV, they're still active community members when they come home. And if they didn't live up or meet their own personal expectation, that doesn't mean that they're, inferior or less than or anything of that sort. So everyone goes through a personal challenge. So
agreed. Yeah, to put it in that context is for sure. Yeah, I mean, you have to be incredibly disciplined to make it to that point, and then you have to be incredibly courageous, to then compete, knowing that all that you put into it, for the outcome, there's a realistic chance that the outcome does not go as you anticipated. And to not have any space for excuses for that is, you have to be incredibly courageous, to do that. So yeah, for all of the athletes that are competing, the best of luck to each of you. You all are superheroes, so wish you the best as you do display your courage in terms of competing for that. So yeah, excited for it though.
Yeah, for sure. What have you been up to? I mean, we haven't kind of checked in and referenced anything that we've been knocking out over the past 6-7 months. What's been going on in your world? Any adventures, trips, personal development that you'd be willing to share that might be worth giving to the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, for me, just really training, kind of been under the hood. Working on a lot of things for competition to follow. So since recording, I ran the Pittsburgh half, and now I'm really largely dialing into running all of the races here in Pittsburgh to follow, with spring and summer. And then I compete in High Rocks in November, which I'm excited for. So really building out, I'm staying really diligent with training during this point in time for that, while also balancing just being active and just having fun outdoors as well. So I've planted a garden that I've really been tending to and harvesting now. I've been playing a lot of tennis as of recently, learning new skills and playing and just being outdoors throughout that, while also just building time for just unstructured opportunities of just relaxation, R&R, and investment within myself throughout. So that's coming by way of reading for me, just taking unscripted, opportunities to be outside, while also keeping an eye on some trips to follow. I'll be going to Asheville 2 times over the next bit of time, just for unplugging, spending time outside, and really having no agenda outside of focusing on on wellness. So I'm excited for that. But that's really just been the time, really digging in, relying upon growth and it being kind of ugly sometimes throughout. But that's really been me.
Yeah.
What about you?
What those veggies hitting, Phil?
Yeah, I got herbs, so basil, rosemary, cilantro, and thyme, and then we also have tomatoes and cucumbers.
Yeah. How's it looking?
It's going strong. It's just a matter of like I'm going
It's too early to tell.
I'm spending time away, so I'm working on like automating my watering system, which has become more complex than I anticipated it being. So we'll circle back post vacations to see if things are still alive or not. But it's also been incredibly hot in Pittsburgh over the last bit of time, with just like record temperatures and it just being like on a continual basis, like extremely warm. So honestly, if I could do it in these conditions, then I may become a farmer to follow. But yeah, we'll circle back. I'll give you status reports in about 2 months.
Anything's possible if you can grow something in your own personal garden in this fluctuation of temperatures, either extremely hot or like it goes back down to 80 for a day and then 94 again. So
it's been incredibly hot.
Yeah. And with the Pittsburgh Marathon, you got a pretty, well, not sunny, but like, I guess, reasonable day for heat.
It was
a little bit of rain, but like 80s or something.
Yeah, it was a cool day out there. It rained just like slightly, like a little sprinkle in the morning, upon like right as I was taking off, and then I was done before the more consistent rain started to come. But especially in honestly, like anytime during a half or a full, you welcome a little drizzle or a sprinkle there. So it was like perfect throughout. It was cooler that day as well in May, and I ran fair. So the city really showed up, honestly, during that time as well. Within each neighborhood, people were out and people were showing their support for their loved ones, or just even just like being there for the city, period. I mean, some people were just out there just to be out there in terms of with noisemakers, with cheering, with signs, things of that nature, which was really cool. I mean, that's the best part of the race, and I think I highlighted this earlier in an earlier episode, is like to see the city come together and to cheer for one universal cause. Of course, there's like individuals that you're cheering for, but like you want everyone to finish. That's why you're there throughout that. So it was really cool to see that throughout. Of course, you and I have had experiences on the other end of the spectrum there, being at the finish line and not being able to see out in the community and see people showing up. But being out there this year was really fun to see everyone come out in droves to cheer out.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible too to think of Pittsburgh as such. It is an NFL city with the Steelers and everything that's like coming our way with the draft and whatnot, but to the same level, the Pittsburgh Marathon brings in that same level of like camaraderie. You always know on a Sunday, if you're traveling in, you're entering into like Pittsburgh territory type of ordeal. Yeah. And on the marathon too, with every community having a distinct flavor and representation, like you're in Pittsburgh when you're running the marathon here, which is so great to know that people are still showing up. I've kind of rivaled the same with the open streets. Like, when you're in those 3 or 4 or 5 potentially distinct neighborhoods, you're in Pittsburgh when you're there. And everyone, like you said, is there for the common good. It's like, who cares about the fastest time? We're just here to see people kind of gut it out, but finish and know that, I may be passing you water or banana or just like kind of making noise, cheering for you and the 10, 15,000 other runners that are out here. So that's awesome.
It's the best. It's the best to see. I mean, that's what, like when I sign up for races, I'm there for the experience, not for, like I can go out and run a half marathon right after we clip off of this set, so it's not about like being able to do it for me. It's just a matter of the experience and like who I'm running with, who I'm running alongside, the experience of the city, the energy that's shown throughout. So Pittsburgh's up there. I mean, they
Yeah.
do it. They do it. You know,
Yeah.
and the latest marathon was just a example of doing just that. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
yeah, for sure. Shout out to the Pittsburgh community for showing up.
Yeah.
I unfortunately wasn't here that week, but like, I'm glad people, runners, spectators are showing up and cheering people on from around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume people are coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
For different intentions, some to qualify for other stuff, right? But
Yep.
like, that's awesome that Pittsburgh's able to host that and represent at that level.
Agreed. I most certainly agree. But yeah, looking forward to all the spring and summer races to follow. The America's Mile was last night, so that kind of kicks off the summer and spring series to follow. So there'll be lots of events to follow for the city of Pittsburgh in the next 3-ish months.
Right on.
Yeah. What's going on in your world?
Oh,
Or what was going on in your world? I know you took a lot of time for travel and whatnot.
yeah. I guess it's hard to start all the way back in October because I was like kind of all over the place from October to now. I mean, let's just talk about 2024 at this point. Been to probably like 15 different states, went international. Yeah, really have been enjoying the outdoors. I've completed a large amount of solo trips. So went to Wyoming. Went to Montana by myself, which was great. Spent, I don't know, 6-7 days out there. Went to Yellowstone, which was awesome. West Yellowstone,
Okay.
on the border of Wyoming and Montana. Idaho, went skiing at Schweitzer Mountain, which was really great. Ton of fun. The normals for me, Denver, but essentially all around Colorado, all around Utah, Wyoming again, upstate New York, West Virginia. Yeah,
Yeah.
the amount of travel has been really great. International was just probably the most kind of fun and developmental experience I've ever had that I can think of to date. Going to Peru, Lima, Cusco. South America is just incredible. Being able to travel out there, experience a different culture, a different pace of life, different intentionality around community and individual care and communal care, which I think was really intriguing and important, special to me. I'm kind of like, even to date, I still reference back on like, wow, I learned so much. How can I implement that into my day-to-day life and walk with community and mentorship and development and all of that stuff. So that was great. And yeah, been learning a lot too, taking some like training courses, doing some like field-based work for some of my larger objectives. Was in the Pacific Northwest and climbed Mount Baker, which was really great, in Snoqualmie National Forest, which was super fun. Nothing better than mountaineering and being in like actual snow, I would say, as as someone coming from like the East Coast going to the West Coast. So that was great. All in all, 2024, I mean, the whole journey of outdoors has treated me really well, but like, I would say from the level of development, either for an objective or for just like personal relaxation, fun, growth, 2024 has been like kind of that golden period right now for me. I'm scratching off a lot of objectives that I want to do or have been kind of working on my to-do list, and I can't wait until January 1, 2025. Like there's some stuff that's coming up that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see how this wraps up and how I grow, but also how I can share this with more and more people. So
You mentioned Peru, but any like domestic trip that you took that you'd recommend for others?
domestic, Yeah, for sure. South Dakota is continuing to be my first recommendation for people that are like reaching out asking, where should I go that isn't California or Utah or Colorado?
Yeah.
Again, I am not throwing shade on any of those options. Like all of those are like,
Glad that you're clarifying.
yeah, you can have a ton of fun. Like,
For sure.
yeah, I can give you a loop for Colorado, Utah
Yeah, no doubt.
that like, oh my gosh, you'll have a great time. So things to look forward to with the show. I know we had referenced it at the beginning of the episode, but we're here at Field Day. We'll be back here producing episodes with Derrick and myself. You can expect 2 episodes a month, so 1 every 2 weeks. One of the 2 will be me and Derrick just chilling here, giving you another vantage point, a full year potentially of seasonality of Pittsburgh here at the rooftop of Field Day overlooking the city. So you may see another tower edition, who knows, the way development's going. But you can expect that from us. And then the other episode will fit exactly what you've been experiencing historically. So a field-based episode with a guest, giving you a new vantage point to some recreational amenity across the U.S. It won't just be here in Pennsylvania, but things that you can keep in mind are going to be different cuts around how to get in and out of a space, an individual's favorite recreational activity, and then an individual sharing their love for the outdoors and a modality that either you've heard of or have yet to hear of, and sharing that more broadly. So you can expect that from us. There's a few different changes with like questions and kind of framework that you can expect just based off of additions. But what are you thinking? Anything you'd like to share with the new adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, there'll be even more opportunities for engagement. So if there's individuals that you want us to talk to, certainly let us know. If there's questions that you want us to ask one another or to other people as well, we're looking for more engagement from each of you. So share your thoughts and perspective, and we'll do our best to accommodate throughout the show, both with questioning that we have throughout, but also with where we're going, where we're showing up, and who we're interviewing as well. So a lot of really great opportunities for everyone to influence the show as well. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, excited for everything podcast-wise. Excited to share some things on my end through the platform of Sincerely Yours Outdoors. Most, I would say personally, the trips, expeditions, stuff that I will be set to go on. Just recently released my personal branding on my own Instagram page called Session in Progress. So if you're looking to hear more immediately, tap into my website, sessioninprogress.com, or check out my Instagram page. We'll be sharing my personal stories through SYO on that, and looking forward to painting the broader picture of like what I'm trying to do in every expedition, trip, personal journey, because it relates to the podcast and everything that like has been created and cultivated through like my realm of recreation and development. So excited for that, but also excited to try to get outside this weekend, even though it's going to be warm, very warm. Yeah, ready to hit trails. Go.
For sure.
All right. And with that, it's a wrap. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.